German Chancellor Angela Merkel.
You know, I can't help but draw some historical parallels with what we've seen in the past. In the past, the United States has financed what later became Al-Qaeda in Pakistan as a counter to the Soviet threat in Afghanistan. That was some years ago. So there was at least some justification at that time as to why the West was funding the elements which later became Al-Qaeda, the big bad Soviet bear, the Soviet threat. And I can't help but ask myself, what is the justification today of giving arms to terrorists, where these arms could end up in Europe, these arms could end up in Moscow, and for all I know, they could end up in Boston again. You know, it's the same question as why terrorists in Boston are called terrorists and terrorists in Chechnya are called insurgents. It's a double standard. And it pains me, as somebody who's lived in the United States and somebody who lives in Russia and understands and appreciates both countries and both cultures, and I have friends on both sides of the big pond that's called the Atlantic Ocean. It pains me to see the double standard. And I think the discussion we've seen today about Syria was a very clear, simple message from the Russian president saying, ladies and gentlemen of the West, let's think first who you're about to give the weapons to, because you don't know where those weapons are going to end up. And in particular, the Russian president mentioned a particular organization which is part of the Syrian opposition, which is also on the blacklist of the United States itself as a terrorist organization. So how is it possible to give weapons to a very ambiguous group of people, which includes the elements blacklisted by the US government itself? It appears that the Russian president has a cool head on his shoulders and is thinking straight, whereas the thinking of those who are supporting the arms sales to the opposition, or the arms supplies to the opposition, their thinking is just not very obvious to me. But, you know, I'm just a citizen and a lawyer. I'm not a politician or diplomat, but I'm trying to think. And what Putin says makes a lot of sense.
Why do you think the United States is using this double standards policy? What's the main purpose here?
Well, that's a big question, and I have no idea. And I don't think anyone has any idea. I've asked this question to my friends in Washington, I've asked this question to my friends in Moscow, and nobody has any answer other than giving a standard party line and preferring to switch the subject. So I think the rest is just a bunch of conspiracy theories. But I think what my thinking is that it's not good for the Russian people, and it's not good for the American people if arms end up in the hands of the people who, frankly, you know, neither side likes particularly much. And at least I think the common interest of the United States and Russia should be to keep some stability in Syria, to bring the conflict to an end. But the only way it can be brought to an end is by getting people to the negotiating table, not by supplying arms. Supplying arms is going to cause continued fighting. And, you know, to the extent that there is a legitimate government which is keeping control of the country from making into complete chaos, I think that actually is better than a complete chaos, as far as I'm concerned, sitting here in St. Petersburg today.
Do you think that Geneva II talks will help to solve the situation in Syria?
Well, I think it depends as to whether they will happen. And if these talks happen, who is going to come to attend those Geneva talks from the opposition? Because it's unclear who the opposition is. Or actually, I should use the multiple, who they are. Because apparently it's various groups of different religious backgrounds, different ethnicity, and different views as to what the future of Syria should be. But I think the primary concern that we in Russia have is that the Syrian conflict must not spill out beyond its borders and create overall instability, including in the southern part of Russia.